To continue me and my old thoughts for what they're worth, divine discontent. Well, there's always been trouble in the world. It is inherent within human nature, clearly. Christ came to give us the I am a Christian, to give us the opportunity to rise out of our lower selves and aspire to loving God. It's in the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them that trespass against us. So human beings, being what they are going to fall out, but then you must forgive and you must love your enemy. Christ says, I can see the passage. Okay, you have your friends and so on. You can see that, be nice to them. Clearly, it's much more difficult to love one's enemy. You don't have to like them, obviously. But love is different, and love can never include even harming a single hair on the head of your fellow man, woman, child, fetus. So clearly what's going on in the world just now is there's plenty of awfulness, but all the good stuff, of course, one doesn't hear about. Obviously, it's not sort of news. But the fact is, we do have, well, I'll just say three that come to mind immediately. Obviously, Russia, Ukraine, that's still ongoing. The Holy Land is just, it is genocide, ethnic cleansing, crimes against humanity, plain and simple. There's no question about it. But it's being perpetrated by Israel and absolutely supported to the hilt by America with arms, finance, moral support, Germany, and my country, Britain. But I can't stop it. So that's the divine discontent that, as I've mentioned many times, I have this nice place in which to live, to be. I went shopping yesterday. I just bought all the basics for the place that I needed. I have the money to pay for them, and there it is. The house is all nice and stocked up with FOD. There was a co-op shop, a food co-op shop, but it had lost an O, so it was not F-O-O-D, it was F-O-D, hence the FOD. There's lots of FOD in my house. My Christian broadcasting place. Now, I do not have a public profile, quite frankly, of any significance. So I can only do what I can do. But even, the former Pope is obviously gone now, but Pope Francis, he, with his worldwide massive influence and the war in the Holy Land just went on. The Sudan was the third one. The West has sort of been blinked. It hasn't been on mainline news. It's been pushed off by the Ukraine, Russia, and the Holy Land. But massive stuff going on there. And that's just three to mention, as it were. There's troubles elsewhere. Who arms them and manufactures the arms, and And then all this absolute twaddle, only it's not because he happens to be president of the United States of America. What an awful little man he is. And it's probably going to eventually come out, quite frankly, that the man is a massive abuser of young girls. With that other fellow, Epstein, who he probably had killed. It wasn't suicide. I'm almost certain now that on the awful little president of the United States of America, that man was executed in jail, taken out to shut him up, whether or not he's a ghastly little man. But the problem there is he's into his second term in America, so you get the leaders you deserve. That means there's a whole swathe, 75 million plus American people voted the man in for the second term, but they voted Mr. Tony Blair in for a second term as well after the second war in Iraq. I'm British, so my Prime Minister, but George W. Bush got voted back into power after the second war in Iraq, and over 1 million human souls, innocent people, were slaughtered. So in terms of numbers, far, far more than in the Holy Land. And that's barely registered yet. All this kickback by Muslim people, whatever organization they're called. Well, what a surprise. You know, that it was generated by the West, by America, as incidentally is the Russia-Ukrainian conflict. That is so clearly a question of a poor old bear, Russia, sleeping peacefully, as it were, and the West kept poking him in the ribs with a sharp stick, i.e. the expansion of NATO eastward. And the old bear finally woke up and he said, "Oi, don't like this." Right, that's my simplistic take on it. Yeah. But having listened to, the experts speaking about it, this expansion of NATO was absolutely part of why Russia is now, and you can't take on Russia. Russia's too big. You can try. It doesn't matter what the pundits say, tanking their economy and stuff. I mean, Russia's not going to fall down. So you're a fool to try. Yeah. On the other hand, quite frankly, given the way the world's going, America is going to fall down, as is Israel. They're going to, those whom the gods wish to destroy, their first drive mad. So the goings on of sort of madness in America. I'm afraid I listen to quite a lot of this stuff from America. It comes through on YouTube about just the madnesses they're up to. Just to distract from these blasted Epstein files, actually seems to be the conclusion one comes to. The president, the current president, whose name I insist upon not saying because he's an awful little man, basically all the stuff he's doing in the world is just to take people's attention off the fact that the man was abusing young girls with Epstein. That seems to be the bottom line there. Well, I mean, how ghastly. So, the truth will out, as they say. Anyway, I live in this world, and as ever I say how fortunate I am, got my health, more or less, a bit creaky, and peaceful scene here. I live in the northeastern corner of England, in Northumbria, a small town called Alnwick, and I shall go to the market soon, and to be, just a quiet, peaceful sort of place, just a small English northern town or an English town. So then divine discontent, right, well, my soul, my life is a constant prayer about this. What can I do? I've got a good brain still. You know, how can I apply it to get people to just see where is love? The two commandments, love God, love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Amen. Why can't people, you know, they see without seeing, they hear without hearing, which is exactly what Christ teaches of the Sadducees and Pharisees, I think, and they're condemned because of it. Because they know, adults know. They must know, Hitler must have known what he was doing, but he found justifications, and somehow that blinds them, these despots and the dictators and the rest of them, to humanity and behaving with humanity. Just common humanity, not without even intruding Christianity into it. As a Christian, I'm absolutely clear about this, but unfortunately, through the centuries now, so-called Christians in God's name, of course, have killed. So, brilliant. The killing goes on, quite frankly. Each generation finding an excuse so to do. Anyway, I'm here now, and I am in the best way I can find. So my form of expression is to speak primarily through this machine or meeting people individually, personally, and so on, to bring to the best of my ability the light of Christ to shine in the darkness. Amen. Come on, we're going to go back to, it's Schubert actually, it's not Mozart for once. The slow adagio in there. This thing, I don't know, I'm hopeless and all that. String quintet in C. Here we go. And a happy smiley face too. Cheerio! I've ruined it. Cheerio!